Republican Tim Rosales, Democrat Ed Emerson. Guys, let's start at the top of the ticket. I believe we ended with you in the early shows, Tim, so we're going to start with Ed and just the spirit of fairness. Still too close in terms of the presidential. Kamala Harris not speaking tonight.
Right.
Go.
We're doing well. We're doing great. We're doing what we had to do. We worked hard. We are not getting the results that we thought we'd get. My sense right now is it's too early. There's still a path that Kamala Harris could win this election. Pennsylvania is huge. We're down by a bunch there, but I think we can make it up. Michigan, Wisconsin. I have to hold hope. Yeah. I have to believe that something good is going to happen, and it's naive. It's not analysis. That's what you need. Is the hard thing is I don't understand Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. I don't understand the depth of his support, the breadth of his support. Hispanics voting for Donald Trump seems crazy to me, but we have work to do. As Democrats, we will get up tomorrow, we will get up the next day, and we will continue to serve the people who need us. The cause endures. The dream will never die. You know, we're going to do this, and it's not our night. That's just all I have to say. It just feels frustrating right now. I'm frustrated. I wish I'd have done more. I worked as hard as I could.
You were on the road. I
came home exhausted. I left it all out there, and I can't think of anything else I could have done. I wish I'd have done more.
Tim, your analysis on this, and also Republicans taking control of the Senate.
Yeah, well, I think, number one, Republicans taking control of the Senate is huge. That obviously controls, judges that are federal judges that are appointed. So regardless of whether or not Trump or Harris are successful, Republican control of the Senate is a very big win for the Republican side. That being said, I think all of the indicators right now favor Trump in terms of the presidential race. It certainly is, still some votes and everything out there, but right now it seems like it's going to be a good night for Republicans. I think here in California, if I'm Gavin Newsom, I'm pretty upset. We have, he was supposed to be the guy potentially who was going to be the nominee for Democrats, or at least he wanted that role.
I mean, is there a discussion now? Should we have done an open primary? Is Joe Biden going, hey, I told you I was the only guy that could beat Donald Trump?
There's going to be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking going on, I think, with that, and also with the success, dominating success of Prop 36, 70% of the vote going on the yes side of that. Right. Gavin Newsom needs to be sitting there tonight, and this is not a good election night for him.
So let's talk about what happened 110 days ago. 110 days ago, the Democratic campaign took a massive turn, right? And you were just talking about the fact, you wish you had done more, maybe think. Is there anything that the Democrats could have done differently over the course of the last 110 days that maybe would have made you feel a little bit better, other Democrats feel a little bit better about the way things did or did not play out tonight?
That's a great question. I mean, we raised more money than they did. I mean, she raised something like $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
And a huge chunk of that came almost immediately.
Almost immediately. We got it right up front. We were able to put massive field organizations. Wisconsin, I think we had 50 field offices. North Carolina, 50 field offices. Yeah. Pennsylvania, over 100 field offices. People on the ground making voter contact, identifying them as Harris voters, and then going out and getting them on Election Day and reminding them that they have to vote. Mm-hmm. That's the basic principle of American politics. Find your voters, ID them, find out where they are, remind them to vote again and again and again. It's like sales. Location, location, location. Get in there and get these people. I don't know what I would have done differently. I mean, I was at a level on a campaign in 92 and 96 where occasionally somebody would walk by me and go, hey, I wonder if we should go back to Michigan. I'm like, yeah, go back to Michigan. Did we spend enough time in Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina? I think we did. I think we did everything that we possibly could. We underestimated I'm trying to find the right word here.
Is it just Donald Trump is just a once-in-a-generation kind of candidate, and it's hard to run against him? Is that sort of?
That's where I am right now. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, and I would say that I think one mistake that the Harris campaign made, regardless of what the outcome is that the Trump-Vance campaign They did interviews. They were out every single week. J.D. Vance was on every Sunday show again and again and again, and they were going and speaking to voters directly. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz went the opposite way completely, and kind of hid, from voters to an extent. We're very packaged.
And they did tough. I mean, J.D. Vance did some tough media too. I mean, he sparred with Dana Bash, sparred with Kristen Welker. I mean, he did some stuff too.
And do you think they would all of that been the same route had Biden stayed in the race and Kamala taken over? Would the GOP have gone that same route and did the exact same way that they did?
Well, I think Joe Biden was on that path where he was kind of avoiding media. He was avoiding interviews. Kamala Harris just picked up that ball and ran with it and continued to do the same thing. I think she could have been a much more effective candidate if she would have gone out and talked to voters. But her campaign, for whatever reason, decided we're going to hold her back. We're going to keep her, behind,
like Hillary,
behind closed doors. Yeah, and I think that mistake repeated itself, and it could cost them the election.
All right, well, votes are still being counted. I'm looking at the electoral map on the AP right now. I'm going to refresh it just to see if anything's been called since we've been talking. I don't think it has been. We're at 247, 210 from what it looks like right now, and that's where we're at. So obviously still stuff to be counted. Nothing's official yet. You guys are coming back at the end of the show.
For Kamala Harris to win.
So I just want to make sure that we're just analyzing here. We're not calling. Nothing's
correct.
done yet. And like you said, still a lot of votes to be counted. You guys are sticking around, but we still have more coming up.